I'm going to do a bit of a free flow today because there are a few things that I'd like to share, but I haven't necessarily got all my thoughts together. So let's see how it goes. I've been doing a lot of reflection, introspection, contemplation about inspiration and enthusiasm. And while these two words have tended to be used quite flippantly in our society, if you follow the root of these words, if you go back to where they originated from, it's interesting to note that they both have connections with a divinely inspired state. And so these are not emotions, these are not feelings, these are actual states. The real essence of them are they're states of being. And maybe to describe them in an experiential way would be those moments where you have absolute clarity. Like you have that moment of absolute clarity. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where suddenly something just clicks, and it's like you see something with this incredible clarity for the first time, and it can often feel so obvious. It's like, how did I not see that? It's like, wow, that is the obvious thing that I need to do right now, or that's the obvious path that I need to take, or that's the obvious solution. So it can be a moment of absolute clarity. It's very often accompanied by a heightened state of energy. So that's where you sort of feel this like incredible feeling of energy pumping through you, where you just, it's like it's such a positive forward momentum, and it's not something where you're kind of having a back and forth in your mind. So I think that's perhaps a really important distinction. An inspired state, inspiration or enthusiasm is not a, yeah, I think that's it, I think I feel inspired. It's a knowing. It's just an inner knowing. It's just this feeling of absolute absence of doubt, and that's where it's just clear. Okay, so perhaps those are the two really defining words, would be absolute clarity, that moment of absolute clarity, and knowing, and maybe the third one is the heightened state of energy. Okay, so if you take inspiration or enthusiasm in its true sense, that is where something greater than us is kind of channeling through us, and it can be experienced in heightened state of energy, absolute clarity, absolute knowing. All right, now let's talk about what prevents this state, what blocks this state. Because when you, to the extent that you can operate out of inspiration and enthusiasm, is the extent to which your actions, your choices are being guided by an intelligence that's infinitely more intelligent than you are. It has infinite understanding of all the dynamics that are at play that our human mind cannot even begin to grasp. Sometimes that knowing might even go against logic, as I've said before. Right, so what gets in the way? Well, the first thing is busyness. This constant need, obsessive need to fill every moment with doing something. This constant obsessive drive to achieve results, often at the expense of your own well-being and your own health. It's when, and I see it so often with people today, and it's, to be fair to most people, it's often not the person, it's the culture in the organization or the society or even the family that is driving it, where it's just this constant drive for more. And if we stop and ask ourselves, where does that come from? it comes from a fear. It comes from a fear that we're not going to have enough. And I see this fear playing out in our society. It's a cancer. It causes people to ignore what their body's telling them, and importantly, it blocks inspiration. So now we are using our own human intelligence to try and figure out what the best option is. And the human mind cannot understand complexity. Right? If you doubt me, then go and ask a complexity theorist. The definition of complex, not complicated, complex, is that it cannot be figured out because there are too many dynamics. And often a lot of these dynamics that are at play that are impacting the system are not identifiable. You don't even know about it. So complex, if something's not, if you can figure it out, then it's not complex, right? Life is pretty complex. And our human mind cannot figure it out. Have you ever had a time where you have thought this is the best action or this is the best decision or direction, and you take it and you realize, oh, that was a really bad decision? Or the reverse can be true, where you think this is not the right decision and it turns out well. So there's lots of these dynamics at play. Okay, so our society has somehow got trapped in the thinking, the mechanistic thinking, that the more you do, the better your results are going to be. The more you do, the harder you work, the more success you get. And I'm not discounting that there are times where there might be hard work that's required, because sometimes you might be inspired to work hard for a period of time. But it's not the hard work that's giving you the results, it's the inspiration. So we need to break out of this. And the only way to break out of this collective consciousness of striving for some moving horizon is when more and more people start to think differently. And what I want to offer you is a different way to start thinking about your success, your happiness, your health, etc. Is stop seeing it as some future state and start recognizing that it is a state within you. All right, it's how are you being right now in the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act? How are you being? And if you're coming from a state of fear, then it's all tight, or anxiety, or whatever it is, right? When you're coming from a calm, clear, open state, that is where inspiration flows. So how do you get inspiration to flow? Well, I think the first step is stop measuring your success by how hard you work or how much you do. Stop using that as your indicator, and start to shift your indicator to out of what state am I operating? So where's this coming from? Where's this decision or this action? Where's it coming from? What state? Is it coming from anxiety? Is it coming from fear? Is it coming from anger? Or is it coming from enthusiasm and inspiration? And the simplest way is start to follow your energy. Start to notice what energizes you, what gives you that, what floods your body with energy, as opposed to feeling like I should. That's often the language that goes with. That's often the language we use when we're not acting out of, or we're not following our energy. Is we kind of go, I should, I better, I must, as opposed to wow, I love this. This is. And we just feel like we want to do it. So what floods your body, what floods your being with energy? It like heightens the energy. That's a really good starting point. So just start to think about how your energy flows throughout the day. What feels expansive, what feels energizing versus what feels draining. And as much as possible, play towards the things that energize you. if you really want to get a better understanding of what energizes you, then we have an assessment that you can take. And the disclaimer, I'm the co-founder of this, and the assessment is called Engagement Fit Drive. And what it does is essentially it helps you to map out your energy. So it gives you insight into what drives you, what energizes you, and what drains you. And so I'll put the link in below if you want to check that out. There is a free version of the assessment. There's also a paid version of the assessment. And that can be a great way to start understanding more specifically and clearly what energizes you and what drains you. Okay, so last thoughts are, just to summarize, stop using hard work and high activity as the indicator of your success, and start to let the barometer be the state, noticing what state am I taking this action out of. Because you could take the same action, you take it out of one state, it's going to be very different results to taking it out of a different state. You take the same action out of fear versus the same action out of inspiration, hypothetically, going to be two completely different results. So I hope that was helpful, and if you're enjoying my videos, it's always great if you could subscribe. It helps me, and it also will help you, because then you'll get notified when I release new videos. And if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to add them. I'm always happy to answer comments and questions from anyone. So these are the things I'm learning. These are the things I'm finding truth in. And if by sharing them with you, it can help you to fast track you to find that truth, those first principles, then that's my goal.